Hello, everybody. It's Tara Boothby from Sojourn Psychology, and I'm here with Dr. Natalie Feinblatt, and she is an international guest. She is a addictions and trauma specialist down in the United States, servicing California, Colorado, and Florida.
Mhm.
All right, and Dr. Natalie and I are going to talk about all things holiday triggers, how to keep ourselves managing a recovery plan,
Mhm.
all these beautiful concerns that we have coming into this season. So what do you think, Natalie? Like, I don't know, what are some of the trends you might see or some of the normal concerns that people have?
Sure. Well, when it comes to trying to stay sober during the holidays, I tend to run into two different types of people who are in recovery from an addiction. The first type is kind of the type that maybe needs a little bit more assistance, which is that, when you're in the throes of all different kinds of addictions, holidays can often be a regular excuse for you to kind of go off the deep end and use and drink a whole lot. Or they can be very triggering because you're around family and maybe that's difficult, or you're alone and that's difficult. So it's a trigger to drink and use. So those folks, in my opinion, are the ones that generally need a bit more assistance with the holidays. The second group of people are the people who, I check in with them about like, hey, are the holidays, a trigger for you? And they say, I was drinking and using every day, so a holiday made no difference to me. Christmas, not Christmas, whatever, it didn't matter to me. So those folks are usually not as troubled by the time of year as the folks in the first category are.
Awesome. And it sounds like what I hear you saying is that part of relapse prevention is to connect with your support system, whether that's like a clinician or maybe say family members or friends.
Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, that's super helpful. And it's just amazing how we can get thrown off.
Oh, yeah.
So Christmas comes or the holiday season comes, and those essential parts of the relapse prevention or recovery plan can get forgotten.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's easy for people to forget about them because, the holidays are kind of different. You've got time off work or, time away from home, visiting family or whatever. That can throw you off. And then also, like, some of your normal resources might not be available, right? Your therapist might be on vacation and away from their phone. Your support group might not be meeting because of the holiday. That can be really tricky to manage.
Yeah, or people, maybe you're going away or your people are going away. So
Yep.
our routine is thrown off, and that is always a risk for any of us to make bad decisions.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, right. And so then it's those, I sort of notice it as like, what are the essential ingredients of my recovery plan?
Mhm.
And let's say like physical activity is one that I see is often a part of somebody's recovery plan.
Mhm.
Well, that's hard over the holidays.
Yeah. Yeah, the gym might be closed. Like your family might be saying, don't go for a run. It's time for Christmas breakfast or whatever. It can be tricky to manage that for sure.
Yes. Yeah. So then watching out for, I guess, to our relationship pitfalls or our communication sort of faux pas, like
Mhm.
people pleasing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially with family, it's
Mhm.
like going as an adult, going home for Christmas or the holiday season, not wanting to make waves.
Yeah, that can be a big one. And sometimes the biggest one is around alcohol,
Yes.
because people either overestimate how important drinking is during the holidays. They think their family or friends will be upset if they don't partake, or sometimes they're right and their family or friends are maybe really into heavy drinking for the holidays and they will be upset if you're like saying no to the beer or the wine or whatever. So people pleasing can come up in both of those situations big time, because even if it's going to endanger your recovery, sometimes people would rather not make everybody mad or think they're going to make everybody mad. And it's easier in the moment to just drink, even though the longer term consequences of that are the harder ones.
Yeah, and good-hearted people don't always get it.
Correct.
So really great people can accidentally be pushy. It's like,
Yep.
oh, come on. Are you sure you
Hmm.
don't want to have
Hmm.
a drink? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Yeah.
I find one of the easiest tips is bring your own beverage. So if you bring
Hmm.
a water bottle or you bring maybe a nice bottle of Perrier sparkling
Hmm.
water and you're walking around with a beverage, it takes the pressure off people offering.
Yep. Yeah.
And some family members, like little grandmas,
Hmm.
they don't get it. Or
They know.
maybe your people don't know that you're in recovery.
Well, there's that too. I mean, there's definitely people who unfortunately, understand and are pushy for their own reasons. But yeah, there's plenty of people who are genuinely oblivious, who just think, well, I know you're trying to stay sober, but you can still have a glass of wine, right? I mean, that's okay. Like it's just poop. They just don't know.
Yeah.
They don't get it. But yes, there's also the challenge of like, maybe not everybody where you're going knows that you're sober yet, right? And you're not super comfortable with them knowing yet. How do you turn down the alcohol, maybe repeatedly, without having to be like, I'm sober, before you're ready to do so?
Yeah, or asking. I mean, some families, like we're talking about, will likely carry on drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Is it an option to call ahead and say, could we not have alcohol at our gathering?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
or pot. I don't know what it's like down in the United States, but that's another thing here now.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
marijuana everywhere.
Well, it's different in every state, but here in Los Angeles, California, it's everywhere. There's a dispensary one block away
Yeah,
from where I am right now.
yeah. So there's advocating for what you need to feel safe. Another thing is let's say you're traveling, will you have a safe place if you need
Yeah.
a breather or
Mhm.
if you just need to sit by yourself and read? Again, that can feel very uncomfortable to take ourselves, put ourselves in the room and
Yeah.
shut the door.
Hmm.
And so boundaries, what are the boundaries that I need to take care of me?
Yeah, and I'm big on those with my clients. I can't tell you the number of clients I've worked with over the years who will say, I'm going home for whatever holiday it is. And, it's like, well, I always stay with my family. And it's like, could you stay at a hotel this year? Like if your family is triggering or it's hard to be around them all the time. And it's like, what? Like it's like something they've never thought about, their family's never thought about, and sometimes the family can get upset about that. Like, why do you need to stay at a hotel? And it can be hard for them to understand, like, I need time away. It's kind of triggering to be here with all the alcohol. But I've had people work that out with their families where it's like now the tradition is that they stay at the hotel and they come over all day, but they have their separate time. And that's how they're best able to manage being sober in that environment.
Yeah, and I think when I hear you speaking, Natalie, the other thing that we often don't think about is when we
Mm-hmm.
come back to our normal,
Yep.
when we come back from the party season, or
Mm-hmm.
if we're just physically coming back from somewhere else, how do I get myself back on track? Or what is my plan when the dust is settling?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and New Year's,
Oh,
we
yeah.
go away for Christmas and we have all this Christmas stuff and
Mm-hmm.
family triggers and all that stuff, loss, pain, and maybe we don't take care of ourselves about that. Our support system isn't as accessible, and then all of a sudden it's New Year's Eve.
Right. And I'm just thinking about it right now. Like, is there a holiday, at least in America anyway, that's more specifically associated with alcohol? Like, you think New Year's Eve, you think the clinking of the champagne glasses, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving anyway, Christmas, different, like, there's definitely drinking on those days, but like, New Year's especially, it's like you're supposed to have that glass of champagne in your
yeah,
hand at, midnight. And you make a very good point, which is that if you haven't been taking very good care of yourself over the holiday season, it might catch up to you at New Year's.
Yeah, it puts us all at risk. Again, because we're all people and we all have families.
Yeah.
So whatever our story of being in a family is going to be brought up at Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
And this is very North American, what you and I are speaking about, the sort
Yeah.
of traditional view of December and a North American traditional view of New Year's Eve as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so I think it's really like what I hear you saying too, Natalie, is taking meetings with ourselves. Like as we're going through, however we can build in that ritual, like how am I doing?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, definitely. I think I'm gonna use that now, taking a meeting with yourself. I like that.
It's vitally important, and it's actually what we do so often,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, so as we start to wind things down here, what do you think? Any other sort of potential concerns or quick tips that you notice? I think one other thing is you can always find an AA meeting
Yes.
if nothing else.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the few upsides of the pandemic has been, and you can tell me if this is the case in Canada as well. I assume it is, but I don't know, that so many meetings have gone online,
Mm-hmm.
and so many meetings are staying online because of all these variants that keep hitting us. But it was fairly easy to find a meeting before, but now it's like any time of day, day or night, whether it's where you are or the next country over or whatever, you can find a virtual meeting to attend, which is really nice. And I would say one of my tips is to people that, oftentimes people, especially when it comes to drinking, people don't care as much about whether you're drinking or not as you think they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually like, oh no, thanks, I've got my drink, maybe once or twice, and like people are too busy thinking about themselves most of the time, right? They're not like, why isn't he or she drinking? you know,
Yeah.
it's usually a bigger deal in your head than it actually turns out to be.
Yeah, and I think that they're usually it's a good intention if they're asking. It's
Yeah,
like they just are happy and celebrating and want to know that you're having a good time.
hmm,
So if you're not having a good time, take a breather, walk away.
yeah,
Two populations at parties that are safe: children and pets.
yes.
So if you need a breather from the adults,
hmm,
they're driving you crazy, volunteer to take the dog for a walk if there's one there,
hmm,
or maybe go play a board game with the children or something like that. So look for your resources
absolutely.
and that meeting with yourself. Think things through, play the tape forward.
Hmm. Yeah,
Right. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And another thing that reminds me of the kids and the animals thing is also like whether you're at a party at a house or at a hotel or whatever it is, like just because you say you have to go use the restroom doesn't mean that you actually have to go use the restroom. You can go in the restroom and make a phone call or say a prayer or take some deep breaths. Like, you're allowed to go take a break for a minute in the bathroom if you need to. You don't, if you have to go to the bathroom, go. But
Right.
like, nobody's going to look at you and be like, are you really going to the bathroom? It's like if you need a quiet space for a few minutes, go to the bathroom, take a minute. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. And meditation is one of the most effective ways to cool down our hot brain.
Mm-hmm.
Serenity prayer is so meditative for so
Mm-hmm.
many. The other way to cool down a hot brain is cardio. So just get
Yeah.
your feet going, turn the
Yeah,
music on,
absolutely.
start dancing, you know.
Yeah, definitely. All of that's great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, this is lovely. It is nice to just remind ourselves. You mentioned the pandemic. The pandemic has just been off-putting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even for people who have had years and years of figuring out their boundary plan over the holidays,
Mhm.
we're kind of thrown off.
Yeah. A lot of things have had to have been revised thanks to the last couple of years. Yes.
Yeah. So you might need to get like a holiday coffee
Mm-hmm.
and take a debrief, before December 1st, even of
Yeah.
like, how am I going to do this month?
Mm-hmm.
What's on my calendar? What's my plan? What's worked in the past?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Awesome. This is so, so helpful, Natalie. And I'll put all of Natalie's information below. Natalie and
Thank
I are
you.
actually Instagram friends. And
Yes, we are.
what I appreciate about Natalie is I feel like my experience with you is that I felt very celebrated by you. And
Oh, good.
that, that makes me feel good,
Hmm.
because it's nice. We talk about women empowering women, and I hope you and I think we just do that. We didn't choose otherwise, which is lovely to have.
Yeah, definitely. No, I definitely try to do that with bigger accounts like yours that I follow and admire that, I want to celebrate you. So I'm glad you feel that way. It's coming across.
Yeah, it's really special. And I think that it we all matter to each other.
Hmm.
And that's part of, again, when we're speaking about Christmas as well, that it's like, it's nice to feel heard and seen.
Hmm.
And maybe that's some of the concern when we're leading into Christmas as well, is
Hmm.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
like some people might not hear you, they might not see you, but look for the people who are.
Yeah, they're there. You just got to find them sometime.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate
Hmm.
you, Natalie, and I appreciate what you're doing. You have a great Instagram account. It's very
Thank you. You
inspiring.
too.
Awesome. Okay. Happy season, everybody. We're all just trying to make sense of it all. It's okay. It's gonna be messy for everybody. I don't know who does Christmas um the way they plan.
Indeed.
Awesome. Okay, take care, Natalie.
All right, you too.